I will tell you how you can do this, and we do not do this. You probably know the answer. How can a marketing agency generate more reviews? Well, one way is you write fake reviews. That's what a lot of your competitors are doing.
Yeah.
We do not do that.
This is Medspa Mayhem, the podcast all about the chaotic world of medical aesthetics. From Botox to lasers to IV bars, learn how to tell real versus fake, legal versus illegal, and safe versus potentially deadly. Hear the crazy stories inside the med spa world and find out what questions to ask and how to spot the people cutting corners. I'm your host, Dr. Kate D. Together, we explore the wild west of medicine that is the aesthetics industry. Hi, this is Dr. Kate D, and I am interviewing today two co-founders of Middle Way Marketing. They are med spa marketers, Brett Chikowski, who is the COO, and Connor O'Rourke, the CEO of Middle Way Marketing. Brett got his BA in economics from Davidson in 2011, and then his MBA at UT Austin in 2017. And Connor got a BA in English at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, 2009. And obviously you guys must have met in business school because he also has his MBA from UT Austin, 2017. So Brett and Connor, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having us. Excited to be
Yeah,
here.
thank you so much. And yes,
So,
of course, we did meet at UT.
Yeah. So I was hoping that in this conversation, we could talk about what are some of the marketing tactics that you use for med spas. What are some of the effective ways that you get the message out about your clients? What has worked for you? What doesn't? And then also really about some of the more sticky tactics that we see used out there so that hopefully people can maybe spot them ahead of time and be more informed both as consumers and then also some of our audience are providers of medical aesthetics. And what is it that you do that's really effective? And what are some of the crazier practices? So I was hoping to start with just if you guys could tell your story about how you met and how you decided to go down this road with your company.
Connor, you want to do that?
You have the story down. You have it down.
Okay.
I'll let you do
I'll do it. All right. So this is Brett. We met in business school on the very first day. Just so happened we were going to the same networking orientation event, and we started chatting and just became friends from there. But we started talking. We were going to some marketing networking event, and I think on that day, just was like, oh, it'd be great to work for ourselves, have our own little marketing agency. Maybe we'll get the training we need in business school to do that. We got some of the training we need to do that, but not a lot of it. But anyway, years passed. We just were friends living in Austin. We both went to work for big corporations in their marketing departments right out of business school because small agencies don't really hire MBAs. It's usually big corporations. So I went to marketing operations at a finance firm, Dimensional Fund Advisors. Connor went to marketing PCs for Dell. And we were just living in Austin doing the corporate thing. And we went and got drinks one night. And Connor said, hey,
it all starts with.
Yeah. It started over some drinks at a tiki bar. And Connor said, hey, I have an idea, a way that we could actually start our own business. I know some guys in the medical aesthetics industry that are selling devices, and they're telling me that all their doctors and med spas need help marketing. That's the number one question. It's still a huge question that all of these companies ask anyone, basically. Hey, I need help marketing. So we saw an opportunity. We saw that we looked into it. The industry was growing. And it's a lot of people that have a lot of education in medicine or something related and not a lot of marketing acumen. So there's a need for marketing. There's a need for marketing help.
They
and
definitely
it's a
don't
growing
teach
industry.
that in med school for sure.
Yeah. My sister's a doctor and I'm always trying to make sure that she's running her business well, not forgetting things that are just for us, secondhand, business things. But anyway, we saw that there was an opportunity, growing industry, a lot of people that need marketing help. And so
what year was this? that
This
you
was
guys were?
2019 is when we officially like filed the paperwork, and we just worked nights and weekends until we got busy enough. I then quit my job. I mean, I quit my job, my full-time job, to do middleware marketing like 1 month exactly before the pandemic hit. And so, but even before I did, I was like going to put in my 2 weeks, and I was like, all right, I'm putting in my 2 weeks. And I think the only thing, I mean, things were going well, so we had confidence. And so I said to Connor, the only thing that could really stop us is if the world like goes crazy and there's a catastrophe. And then like a month later,
Yeah.
everything shut down.
We all got shut down. It
Yeah.
was so painful.
So yeah, that was pretty concerning. But luckily, I mean, one thing in this industry that we've learned is that it's pretty recession proof, at least so far. And it just continues to grow. And then also, doctors were able to open up much faster than other companies and keep their doors open. And so we were back in business, I guess, like much faster than the average company or the average like industry. And so, you know, we were able to weather that storm, and it just kept growing from there. It's the origin story.
So what is your basic approach to marketing med spas?
Our basic approach is fundamental foundational marketing is the key before doing anything crazy. I think there's a lot of stuff out there of, oh, just run this special and you'll get a bunch of people, or market on this platform and you'll get a bunch of people. And we found over the past 6 years that you're never successful in any type of advertising, any type of marketing, unless you have a good core foundation. And I mean, foundation of your website, so that it looks nice and represents well who you are. And then Instagram and Facebook profiles, those are we consider like foundational, because a lot of people are searching for med spas on the social media platforms, especially Instagram and Facebook. It hasn't really varied too much from that. There's a lot of people on TikTok, but we haven't found that it's like outpaced Instagram and Facebook at this point. So website, Instagram profile, Facebook profile, we want really high quality content that showcases who you are. And we want to make sure there's the digital foundation, but then there's also the in-store, like brick and mortar foundation of, do you have a well-trained staff that can intake someone, like they know what they're doing when someone like fills out a form. They can, whatever your process is for converting like the lead to a patient, you need to have well-trained staff that are ready to do that. And you need to have a pretty streamlined process. Otherwise, people get confused in your messaging and your text outreach and your email outreach. And if they don't have a smooth process and they're new to you, they don't know who you are, they're just a stranger from online, you need to have you're not going to convert them if you don't have that. So like setting up that foundation, we found to be like where the biggest need is right now. Then search engine optimization, Google pay-per-click, that can come in handy after you have the foundation set. Because if you're attracting a stranger from online and they get to a poor looking website that is confusing, they're going to move on very quickly. Or if they even do fill out a form and the follow-up process is murky or delayed or whatever, it's not smooth, they're just going to forget about it and move on. So that's our approach. Create really high quality content, showcase who you are, and just set up a really good foundation. And that's, I think, a key to long-term success. We're not really trying to get you like 30 leads right now this month, guaranteed. Like we see that all the time from other marketing agencies. That's not really our approach.
And I can tell you, I get an email at least once or twice a day, at least, from marketing people saying, Dr. D, can you handle 30 more patients a week in your clinic? And obviously that's a very quick delete for me, but I think a lot of people fall for that. A lot of providers fall for that, and because they pretend that they can guarantee that.
Yeah. So, well, they might be able to quote unquote guarantee like leads, but a lead is there's different quality of leads. And then there's like the difference between a lead and a paying customer. So you asked about what didn't work for us. We used to advertise on Instagram and Facebook for lead conversion, like lead generating campaigns. We still think that creating really high quality content and publishing it is very important for a business. But these lead conversion campaigns on Facebook and Instagram, like we would get a ton of leads for our clients, and then none of them would convert. And it was the same story over and over. So we just discontinued advertising on those platforms for lead generation because we weren't finding that it was working. And yeah, maybe I could guarantee a certain number of leads, but if 0 of them turn into paying customers, what's the point? It's just a waste of money.
Right. And so can you talk about what you mean by conversion? So marketers will know what you mean, right? So, but for us clinicians and then also for consumers, okay, what does it mean? They're the lead, right? They're filling out the form. And so what does it mean that they don't convert, right? And what is it that you provide and what is it that the office provides that gets them to actually show up and come in and have a procedure done or at least a consultation?
Sure. So there's really two different ways to think about conversions. So first, you have an impression. So an impression is when a piece of content is viewed. So like the first conversion is in seeing that image or video, did the viewer click? Did they convert into then a website visitor? So that would be first. Okay, cool. We're running a Google ad. So not even an image in this case, just a set of keywords. Someone searched for Medspa near me. Your website popped up along with 4 others. Did they convert into a website visitor? Okay, cool. So now we have a website visitor. Someone's on the page. Now, did the person call or fill out a form to become a lead? So did that website visitor then convert into a lead? And we find that for Google ads, the conversion rate is about 10 to 20%. It does depend. We'll probably say that a lot. It's an annoying set of words. It depends. People just want to know the answer, but it depends on the competition. It depends on the quality of the website, how well it's written, the aesthetic of it. But it's somewhere usually between 10 to 20%. In other words, if we were to get 10 clicks to the website, 1 or 2 of them will convert into a lead. And then what you're really asking is converting that lead into a paying customer. We also find that Google has a relatively high conversion rate, especially compared to social media ads, which is why we stopped running them. So social media, Facebook and Instagram specifically, as Brett said, we can generate a ton of leads, but we found that only 2 to 5% of the leads that we generated would actually turn into paying customers. Very low. Very low. So again, yeah, sure, we get you 30 leads, no question, but that might be like 1 paying customer. There's no ROI there. Google, on the other hand, is literally 10 times as efficient and effective. It's 20 to 50%. So
Interesting.
it does make sense when you think about it. It is interesting, but it makes sense when I just describe it this way. Social media ads are similar to a billboard. In fact, we call it our digital billboard, or we used to call it our digital billboard service. So you're driving down the highway, you're just seeing all these different billboards, not targeted really in any way. You're mostly, frankly, seeing injury attorney billboards. At least I do. Occasionally you will see like a med spa or something like that, but they're just trying to get in front of everybody. On Facebook and Instagram, sure, we can be a little bit more targeted, but the way that the pricing has evolved over the years is it became way too expensive to get hyper targeted. So we were really just targeting typically females, sometimes males. We work across all health and wellness industries, med spas being our main set of clients, but we work with acupuncturists, therapists, all different types of folks. And we would target females 25 to 55 within a certain mile radius around the practice.
Oh, God, I just aged out of that one. Okay.
Yeah, we're all getting there. Don't worry about it. Don't take it too hard. That is obviously not super targeted. It's just a sex with a relatively small age range, and then we know that people are driving to these practices, and so we don't want to target people that are so far away that if they were to get in touch, they would say, "Oh, wait, that's where the practice is. That's way too far. I don't want to drive there." But we don't really know exactly if they're interested in the services or not. So if someone were to click on this ad and maybe fill out a form, they're just doing it in passing. Honestly, they're mostly doing it right before bed. They wake up the next morning, they totally forget they filled out that form, and they're just not converting. Whereas on Google, the person has actually filled out the form. They have, searched for the exact service you're offering. Your ad only came up because you offer exactly what they were looking for. They're likely only going to check out the first few websites on the first page of Google. And if they do click your website and you have a nice website, Well, they've already told Google they want this thing. So if you pick up the phone when they call, you answer the questions that they have. Brett said you have a knowledgeable front desk. You respond to that lead when they fill out a form quickly. Well, then they probably are going to become a client. And so that's really what we've been doing. And those are the nitty gritty details, the percentages when we're talking about conversion. Again, we're converting a website visitor into a lead, someone that's called or filled out a form. And then ultimately, we want to convert that person into someone that's walking into the practice and actually paying for a treatment.
Right. So from my point of view as a doctor and as a owner of a med spa, I want to make sure that we answer the phone and we answer it friendly and we're super informative. So whatever they ask, we answer it. And I have my personal policy is we're all helping out. So if the front desk is busy on the phone helping check out a patient, we all answer. I answer if we're not in with a patient, we have a spare moment, we'll answer the phone. And sometimes people get me and they're like, "Oh, Dr. D, I wanted to ask you a question." Then they'll ask me like a medical question, but it's fine. It's totally fine. I think the most important thing is to be accessible and answer the phone and be helpful and not
100%.
be salesy in any way. We're very much not. And what I've learned over the years is a lot of places sort of fall short, either not answering the phone, not being helpful, not being informative, not really giving out information. One thing that drives me nuts is price transparency. Do you guys encourage your people to put their prices on their website or just leave it up for them? Or because I've had a lot of competitors where they won't even tell you the price of something. You have to come in and get a quote unquote quote for a thing. Do you have an opinion
It
on that?
depends. Yeah. So some of it you actually do need to get a quote, to be fair. So like the amount of treatments that you'll need for a certain microneedling service or something like that. It might be 3, it might be 6. They might realize they need to treat the neck and not just the face. And they do want to have those discussions, and they do want to prohibit people from just going with the cheapest option. That's really why they're doing it, is they don't want to get into a price war and then compete with these folks that are just going on to Groupon and just having the lowest price. And it's a loss for everybody. So typically these more intense, so to speak, treatments, we don't list prices. Like really intense would be like plastic surgeons or something that's doing like liposuction. But like
Yeah, I
med
mean, for
spas,
surgery, that's another story because every surgery is different. I think for something like microneedling, the cost is the cost. And if somebody's a discount shopper and they're going to go get the Groupon, they're not your person anyway. They're going to get a Groupon. And I've done an entire episode of this podcast about Groupon and how terrible it is. And you get what you pay for if you get a Groupon. And for the most part, there's got to be some problem because the pricing on Groupon for things like this are not even cost. And so it's not physically possible. So either they're doing some fake thing or they're cutting this corner or that or all the corners. So when it comes to a medical procedure, in my personal opinion, nobody should be getting a Groupon. But if they are, then that is not a person who is really informed and careful. But anyway.
Yeah, we take on a lot of clients that say, "I tried a Groupon."
Yeah.
And they were like, it just didn't work. I think they just get bamboozled by the idea of Groupon, and they don't take time to understand how Groupon is making money as well.
Right.
And so, yeah, that doesn't ever really pan out.
Yeah.
We do not recommend.
No, I mean, it's not physically possible to offer one as a legit medical practice and not be hemorrhaging money to do that. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I was going to say the only reason that they could do is if they're just like, we just want to get people in the door. We're willing to pay to get people in the door so that they can turn into longer term customers.
Right. But that doesn't work for restaurants. It's definitely not going to work for doctors. I mean, it doesn't because they're going to only go there the one time they have the Groupon. Yeah, they're never coming back. Back when Groupon first started, I remember getting a Groupon for a restaurant I really loved, right? I went there and I went in, I was like, "Oh, I saw your Groupon, so I just got it." And I didn't realize that for that waiter, he was like, and I had him before. He was fantastic, but he gave us the worst service because he was expecting us to be bad tippers and to not want to pay. And it was terrible. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm never buying one of those again. I'd rather give my money to the server because they deserve it because they're doing a hard job than to try to clip that cost. But it's the same thing with medical providers who are doing Botox or laser or something. Can you imagine, right? Like the laser itself to do laser hair removal is like $150,000. So like, how are you going to pay for that if you like charge nothing for your service?
Totally.
Anyway, so I'm really curious to know, now that you've been doing this for 5-6 years, what's the craziest thing you've seen? What are the craziest tactics that you've seen, good or bad?
Craziest tactics.
Well, I think you were mentioning earlier before we started recording, if you're willing to tell that
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. Okay. So I was trying to think of one for actual med spas, and I could swear I just had one. But the one that comes to mind is something that a lot of our competitors do. So when I say competitors, I mean other marketing agencies. And so this is something to look out for any med spa owners that are listening, and specifically those that are thinking that they want a new website, or maybe they're just starting a business and they need their first website. So what we've realized a couple of years ago is that our competitors are actually leasing the client's website to the client. So what does that mean? I don't understand. Well, unfortunately, what that means is as soon as the client, the med spa owner, stops paying for the website, that website is gone. And they're like,
Yeah.
wait, I don't understand. What do you mean? I've been paying for this website for 2 years. Like, I just want a new provider like Middle Way Marketing to take it over. Thank you for all the work you've done, but I don't like the level of support. Can I just get access to my website? No, you can't. No, Middle Way Marketing cannot take over this website. This website is gone. That's not how we operate. Our clients own their websites. We hope to retain them through doing great work. But if they want to move on and have like their cousin or something manage the website, here's the website. Here are the keys, so to speak, to the website. So that is pretty crazy tactic in the sense that they're going in with a lowball offer, and the med spa owners are convinced to go with them because it sounds cheap, and they don't read the fine print, and of course they're not really described correctly what the service is. And so they win that business, and then down the road the med spa client's like super upset and they have to start from scratch. I mean, I literally just had this conversation like 1 hour ago from another client.
It's quite disheartening that that's still going on, because 10 years ago, a little more than that, when I started, that was a very common tactic, right? And it was really important to ask, well, can I get access to the website to make little minor changes as we go? What if I'm changing one price, or there's one typo, or you want to add something? You want to be able to just go in and change it yourself. And then the other thing is, hey, if we part ways, however long from now, can I move my website to somewhere else or host it somewhere else? And very, very common tactic to be no on both of those, right?
Great questions. Everyone should take note of those questions and ask those 2 questions. Absolutely. Very important.
Because those companies tend to also create the content for these websites. So one thing I can tell you, if you're a consumer looking at these websites, right, sometimes you can tell, because it doesn't, I mean, maybe if you're not medical, you can't totally tell that it makes no medical sense, but you can see maybe an AI wrote it, or even dumber, a human who doesn't know anything about medicine wrote it, and it just sounds so stupid, right? And it's it can't be. It's so unreal, right? And anyway, so, but I don't know if you can tell, but I mean, hopefully, I don't know if you've looked at my spa website, but almost all of that I wrote it myself, because I just couldn't stand it. The first website that was created was one of those companies, although I did make sure I could own it in the end, right? So, and they were okay. I mean, they weren't great, but they created the content to start with. And it drove me nuts because it just sounded so dumb. It sounded like someone who didn't know anything about medicine was writing about medicine. And so when I redid my website, I literally wrote every word, and it's a giant website. I don't know if you could tell that too, but like we have 60 some odd service pages because we have 60 different services, and then a ton of other information on there. And I write a blog, and it was just, I literally got tennis elbow sitting at my computer rewriting the whole website. But
you though, because that's what it takes. That's
gosh.
As we get on to your other questions, I'm sure about like how to be effective, and Brett can describe it, but to be simple, it's personalize it, make it yours. Don't just use generic images and generic copy. And you're totally right. And that's how, med spa potential patients should be sourcing their med spa and looking for one is, can you tell who this practitioner is and who the team is, what the space looks like, and all of that. And
Right.
you've obviously done a great job at that.
I think the part of that is, who are the people on the team, who are the providers, who are the people on staff, who's the medical director. You want to know who these people are. If you look at my website, you know, like most of my life on there. I mean, you just know everything about me, maybe not my kids' names, but it's a lot of information. So a lot of times when people come in and I'm doing a consult, they know all about me already. They've already read about me and they've figured out that they want to see me, right? I was going to ask you, what role does reputation management and reviews play in what you guys do? I mean, is that part of what you do?
Do you want me to take that, Brett? I'll go ahead and take that and say that we are currently coaching our clients on how to generate more reviews, and also coach their patients on how to write the review. I will tell you how you can do this, and we do not do this anymore. You probably know the answer. How can a marketing agency generate more reviews? Well, one way is you write fake reviews. That's what a lot of your competitors are doing.
Yeah.
We do not do that. And not doing that, all we really can do is we can equip them with a piece of software, which we do for clients that opt for the software, that makes it very easy to ask for a review. So
Right.
it's as simple as inputting someone's name and phone number and hitting enter, and then an automated message will go out via text to ask for a review. Really, at first asking how their experience was, followed by a review, a link to Google being the most important. You can also put a little QR code, like a little blocked QR code at the front desk. That's
Right.
super easy. Best of best would be, frankly, both. QR code is super cheap. It's not software. It's a one-time easy purchase. The other thing is that these reviews use SEO. I'm sure a lot of listeners have at least heard the word SEO, search engine optimization. You probably think mostly about the website being SEO optimized. You've heard keywords. Okay, what keywords? Well, it's usually med spa, fill in the blank, your town, and service, fill in the blank, your town. Make sure those words are on your website. Well, guess what? You also want to make sure those words are in your reviews. So you can check the map and you search for yourself, and you might question, well, wait a second, this Medspa only has 4.5 star rating, but they're above me. I have a 4.9. Why is that? It's because Google is not just listing them by the ranking, it's through the keywords. So they want to see Medspa fill in the blank is so great. I spoke with and worked with Kate and her team, and they provided such a great fill in the blank service. I totally recommend them. So then they're pulling those words. So when you search for microneedling, med spa, whatever it may be, that is what will generate your spot in those first 3 or 4 spots, which are of the utmost importance, because those show on Google before you click into the map. They're just shown on search. So you want reviews, but you also want those reviews to state what service they had.
It's really interesting. So this is the first time I've heard that. I'm curious, like, how do you prompt the patient to do that?
So we just ask them in the review, if it's a piece of software we use, hey, do you mind? Thanks for the great review. So I'll just explain it really exactly. In a text message, we've all received them. I even get them from restaurants. You're not initially given the review link, right? Because what if you had a bad experience? So you ask them if they had a good experience from 1 to 5, and if they had a good experience, then they're prompted with a request to leave a review, and they're asked to speak about in the review why they're leaving a good review, what service did they have, who did they work with. So it's just giving them a little guidance. Oh, okay, cool. I'll let a review about the service that I received, and then they'll type it in. We also just tell our clients, please ask for reviews and ask them to state what service that they had. It's pretty simple. It's not too much we can do beyond the initial outreach using our software. It's more so on the front desk. It's super important. Very important.
Yeah.
You have a good front desk.
If I could just add one thing, I think that the reputation management is best handled in the med spa because it's your reputation. You, like Connor's saying, like the front desk, like you're having an interaction. What can a marketing agency do? Like Connor said, like we could set you up with software that like just automates asking for the review. But I think the better approach to getting reviews is asking the people directly if they wouldn't mind, if they had a good experience, would you mind leaving a review, and having it be more personalized interaction and really provide a really good service. And the reviews come over time. So I've looked at reputation management products from other marketing agencies, and I just don't know that it's something that I would recommend outsourcing, because it's not the marketing agency's reputation that's on the line. It's your business's reputation. Like a videographer, like we have professional videographers, like that is something that I wouldn't expect a med spa to be able to provide for their business, but like you can certainly interact with your people, provide a good service, and ask for the reviews. So
I think that I'll share one tip that I don't think I've ever shared publicly. I'll share with you and then our entire audience. And one thing that has worked really well for us, because we do endeavor to provide like the best service possible, right? So, and we of course don't take tips, right? It's a medical service. There's no tipping. So when a patient says, "Oh gosh, can I tip my provider?" Our front desk will say, "You know what the best tip is if you could write a review and mention her name and how happy you are." And people will often do that because they had the inspiration to provide a tip in the first place. And so they want to give something back, right? Oh my gosh, I had such a good experience. So that's been really helpful. And obviously you have to have happy patients to do that, right? And so nothing takes the place of providing like a really great patient experience.
Do you guys have a little review jar where they can put their
review jar? Oh, we do. So actually,
that was a joke.
Right.
It's okay.
Well, I was going to say we have a big open house every year, and we do these giveaways. And one of the ways to enter is to write a review and put your name in the jar. And then we give some fun stuff away.
Smart.
Yeah. And it's hard though, as a physician 10 years ago, when I was just starting, I could not ask. It was impossible for me. I wasn't in a world where you did that before. And then starting in the med spa space, I'm like, ooh, I'm happy they're happy. And I didn't know how to ask. It was really, really hard. And now it's, you know what, like the best, when people are happy, like the best thing you could do is leave us a great review. It always helps. It really helps. People are always looking for new reviews. And so when they really love you, they're willing to do that.
It's that simple. And we do hear that all the time. I don't want to do it. You're not selling anything. You're not asking anything outrageous.
It is hard to ask though.
Yeah. I think once you get into the rhythm, it seems like then all of a sudden, you know what? It's not that hard. I definitely can do this. And of course you want to train your staff. It's not always you. Train your staff to do it. As Brett said, this is best coming from the practice itself. You guys know when the client's glowing and so happy. That's when you ask. That's who you ask. That's when you ask. Just please ask and make it easy. Here's a QR code right here. And so, yeah, we don't really do, to answer your question, we don't do all that much. It's mostly on the
it's
practice.
Just encouraging and asking. Yeah. I can say the other thing that I've definitely shared widely is just our top two ways that people find us are just one, through a friend. So it's just a friend recommending. So about, let's just say half, it's oh, my friend comes here. And I just didn't want to drive that far anymore. And I thought I'd try you guys out. And then the other thing is just a Google search and looking at reviews. So they found us. So you have to be findable, which means good SEO. So you have to be findable, and then you have to have good reviews, and people read them all and go, wow, you guys have great reviews. I thought I'd try you. You're in my neighborhood, or you're not very far. And people say great things. And those are the main thing, that literally the top two. It's very rare. I mean, there's not a lot of other answers to that. How'd you find us?
We even have in our like presentation that we give at conferences, like our marketing stack, and like word of mouth that's your best marketing. So even before we get to anything digital, that's what I was saying about like the foundational stuff. Like you don't want to go straight to lead gen. you need all these foundational pieces first to run an
Yeah.
honest, like long-term business, and having word of mouth is going to be your best marketing. So
Yeah.
you got to have a really great experience for the people when they come into the store so that they're encouraged to speak about it.
Yeah, and the other corollary to that is that when people call, not only do you have to answer the phone, like we talked about earlier, being informative, helpful, that front desk person absolutely has to be just, it's part of the staff, part of the friendly atmosphere, and they're the face of your practice. And I think it's super important to pay those people really well. They're part of the staff. They're not like entry level minimum wage people or jobs, right? And they
Mm-hmm.
have to actually know a lot about medicine. They're not answering medical
Mm-hmm.
questions, but they've had the procedures. They know what it's like to have them, or most of them. They stick with you, so they learn by experience. And I found that's another big component to other places where it's just you call and they're not friendly, or they don't answer the phone, they don't return the voicemail, and it's hard communication. You can't get answers. They're not transparent about things. So that's, I think, another thing that, of course, you guys can't control that, but you can advise your clients like that this is so
Yeah,
critical.
and we do. It's a crucial role. It's a really good point. It comes down to them not just answering the phones, but if you're running any type of marketing that is using software to communicate with people, like email or text message, they need to be adept at that system as well, because it's often the front desk person that will get assigned to send the text messages, reply to the text, reply to the emails, and send the emails. So that's a very crucial role. And that's honestly where we find like the most struggle when we're running like really nice ad campaigns. We're like, oh, this is great. We're getting so many people into this business. And then a month goes by and the Medspa calls us up and they're like, I haven't converted anyone. It's, well, you've got 10 people in the system here that they've sent texts and you haven't responded to them. And so I'd like to add on to the phone thing with also that person. If you guys are running type of marketing where you have emails or text conversations going on, like that person at the front desk needs to be on top of those too. It's just as important as a phone call these days. And so it's not like rocket science. It's like almost common sense. It's like you're communicating with people. I think people think digital and they forget that it's another human on the other side of the digital whatever. Like on the other side of the server is like another person. So like,
well, hopefully there's a person. I mean, one of the things I can't stand are those chat bots, and they don't really help you, and they don't really know anything, and they can only,
yeah.
if I wanted to
I'm
talk
sure
to
they're
a
getting
chat
better.
bot, oh my God, I hate that. And that's another email I get like almost every day is companies wanting to sell me a chat bot to put on my website. I'm like, as a consumer, I am not talking to a robot, and I don't want no robot's going to inject me with Botox. So that's not a solution for me.
I'm personally
And
not a big fan of chatbots. I know that they have worked successfully on websites, but I'm like you, like I don't
if it's an
ever.
easy to answer thing, fine, right?
Yeah.
But most of what we do, it's complicated. I mean, we do so many different services, and it's medical, and people's skin is different. Depends on your skin type. Depends on a lot of things, and a chatbot just can't answer those, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess some AI people would probably argue with me on that, but
Oh yeah, for sure they would. And I think eventually, like the chatbots probably will be very, very good.
In the not too distant
well, with
future,
the
I would
right
say.
prompt, but I mean, you'd have to say, this is my skin type, and this is my sun exposure, and I have rosacea, and I have this, and I have that, and would this product be okay, or can I undergo laser? I mean, that's a medical recommendation, not a generic answer, right? And if you put in enough parameters, then yeah, sure, like a chat GPT could answer that question. But if you leave out something and that makes you not a candidate for that procedure, the chatbot's not going to know. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that I have melasma or something, right?
Now it's nice at initiating conversations, answering simple conversations, and as soon as it does get more complex, then pushing the conversation to a real human. So if you do have a lot of website traffic or you do get a lot of leads, then automatically following up or answering those really low-level questions. We don't need to bother the front desk, who hopefully is busy seeing people in person, and then is only brought into the conversation when it's like, okay, we need some human touch So we would never currently get into any kind of conversations with regard to like skin type and any kind of, it's more just pricing questions. What are your hours of operation? What's your location? And then push it to a human. But I do think we're probably not too far away from being able to answer some pretty sophisticated questions. There's probably people, out there that if they were listening to this would say, no, we're already there.
Well, we are with the right input. That's what I've noticed, is that with the AI I've interfaced with, if you have the right input, then you can get really helpful answers, right? But, I find that if you don't, you get something really off, something minimal or something basic that is like, okay, that really wasn't what I was asking. And so much of using AI well is figuring out how to write the best prompts.
Yeah. I see prompt engineering courses. I see them advertised online.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? But if you ask the right prompt, you can have the AI build the website for you. I mean, that's widely available now too on all the main places like Wix and Squarespace. They can build a whole website for you based on your AI prompt. So if you do it properly, I mean, I haven't tried that, but I know it's available. Yeah. Well, this has been like super interesting. I'm curious to know whether, like, what advice you would give. I have two questions. What advice you would give to somebody who's just starting out, or they have an established Medspa and they're looking for a new marketing company because they had one of those really crappy competitors of yours in the past? And then I might ask a similar question just about what consumers, if there's a way that consumers can tell whether a place is super legit or not based on what their website looks like.
So I think to answer your first one, go to middlewaymarketing.com.
Yeah.
That's what they should do. But no, I think that when you're, from the med spa's perspective and working with marketing companies, I think it's really important to put in a little bit of time to educate yourself and understand what marketing is and what it isn't, and what is a lead versus a paying customer, and what is realistic, and just use common sense and make sure you understand clearly what the marketing agency is telling. If something sounds strange, ask about it. And then the contract that you sign with the marketing agency, like, just put in the time to at least read through it once and then ask questions if something doesn't make sense.
Oh, I can give some advice on that. Feed the contract into ChatGPT, and the prompt should be, read this contract with a marketing agency and give me advice from the point of view of a lawyer giving advice to the spa or office that is going to engage this marketing agency, and what are the salient sticking points, and what changes should I ask for to make it better in my favor. And if you do that, it will take ChatGPT less than a second to give you those answers.
That's great advice. It's very good.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times we get into a contract with somebody and then we get a question like a couple months later, and it's, oh, well, it's clear that you didn't read the contract and understand what we're going into. I mean, it's our job as well to be very clear and upfront about what we do and how we do it. And so we do that as well. But from the Medspa owner's perspective, do a little bit of work on yourself, like understanding marketing. And then I would say
I'll interrupt real quick, or work with an agency that up front is explaining it to you and is educating you on this, because how are you going to figure that out? Like, how are you going to follow Brett's advice? We could just use ChatGPT. This is like a plug for ChatGPT. You could do that.
I know, just completely unintentional. We have no
right. I didn't know we were gonna name drop so much, but another way to do it is when you do have these calls with marketing agencies, and you should have a couple, compare, and on those calls you should be working with someone that is not just selling, they're educating. And so you fully understand what world you're getting into. The marketing agency should understand that they're talking to someone that really doesn't know what they're doing. And we've been doing this for years. So if you're out there listening to this and you actually understand SEO and Google ads, and you are one of very few. You guys are busy practicing medicine and delivering great experiences and treatments, and it's not on you to execute, But as Brett said, it is on you to understand what the marketing objective is and how your marketing agency is going about doing it. And the only way to really know that is to ask those questions. Hopefully you don't even need to ask. And on the call, the agency is just describing it to you
Right.
truthfully and honestly, transparently.
And honestly, that is exactly the same as it is as a medical provider. So we're not selling anybody anything. We're just educating them about all the different things we do. And these are the benefits, these are the risks. And it's really about education. And if you go to a med spa that is just selling you stuff and, it's all smoke and mirrors and they're not really educating you, I would just run in the other direction. And that's probably exactly the same. You guys know what you guys do. You educate your customers on like how we do it. This is what we do. This is what we can achieve. These are the benefits. These are the risks, right?
Totally.
And then you hope that they trust you and they're like, okay, let's do this, as long as you're upfront and honest. And there's so little upfront and honesty in this industry. That's why I wanted to have you guys come on, because you're unusual. As I mentioned, you've got a lot of very unscrupulous competitors.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to say,
as do
I
I.
was going to say, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So when you're meeting with marketing agencies and you see like an ad for something where they're going to guarantee a bunch of, just think, does that sound realistic? If you educate yourself a little bit on what does a Google pay-per-click campaign mean, does it sound realistic that it costs me $10 for a click and I'm going to spend $20 a day? I'm going to get 2 clicks. Is it realistic that I'm going to get 100 people from that campaign in a month? Like, probably not. So just understanding like the basic components, and Connor said, like the marketing agency should be educating you on how it all works, should be very open. That's our approach. And like anytime we meet with a new potential customer, just educate. What do we do? How does it work? How long does it take? What's realistic to expect? That's another thing I think that people get a little like cagey if it takes maybe longer than they were expecting. Just ask how long does this normally take? What do you guys want me to see? It does take a little bit of time for some of this stuff to work. Like SEO, we need like many months to rank. Google Ads, you need a couple months to optimize a campaign and make sure that you're paying for the right click. And unfortunately, you got to spend a little money to get through the beginning. But just understanding how long things take, I think, is another key, because it's not, I mean, think about it. Like you're trying to convince a stranger who doesn't know you online to come and physically move. It's like different than selling software where they don't have to move. They could just buy it from their computer. But you're trying to convince a stranger who doesn't know you to come in.
It's a big ask. You're not just selling widgets, right?
So the first time they see a piece of content on social media, or the first time they see a Google ad, they're not going to turn into a customer right away.
Yeah.
So it takes a little bit of time.
And I think, and ultimately for consumers, I think it's really helpful. Hopefully our people in the audience who are med spa consumers are listening and realizing that not only are the spas themselves, some of them, selling smoke and mirrors, right? But they're hiring not so legit marketing companies who are helping them with the smoke and mirrors. And it's all just a game to get your money. Right. And so ideally you're finding someone who's legit, who's practicing medicine at a high level, and who's educating you about all the medical things and providing the information to you so that you can make an informed decision. And I think the marketing agency is really a huge, important part of that. And it can be really hard. So I'm really glad that you guys exist and you're out there and helping the industry become a better place. Yeah.
So you did ask about what people, like potential customers of med spas, like what things they could be on the lookout for. So I think that one is you go into a website, you can pretty quickly tell if they put care into it or not. And I think that's a good sign. It's like, how do they care about like their business overall? And this is the first thing that you're going to see. So if there's care put in there and there's no, believe it or not, like you go on websites, so there's like typos. So if it's just like basic things, like you can tell pretty quickly, I think, does the menu make sense? Does it function correctly? Is there a broken thing at the bottom, like the map where there should be a map? Is that broken? Like things like that.
Is it personalized?
Yeah. Is it personalized? Yeah. Is there a picture of the people? Is there a picture of the place up there? And then the other thing I think we've hit on a lot is the process smooth of like communicating with the business? that I think, like, if you're getting something back that doesn't really make sense, it's an automated message, and like then they have like organizational issues, I would say, internally, and that might be a sign to me that like I want to go somewhere that's like a little bit more buttoned up in like how they operate as a business. So those are like two things I would probably be on the lookout for.
Yeah, I totally agree. So, well, this has been awesome conversation. Thank you guys so much for being on the podcast today. I've learned a lot.
Thank you so much
Awesome.
for having us.
Thank you for having us.
If you've learned something and like what we're doing, please tell your friends and give us a 5-star rating in your podcast app. If you have a question or a crazy story of your own you'd like to share, please send an email or voice recording to info@drkatedee.com. That's DRKATEDEE.com. Or reach us through the website, medspamayhem.com. And read the book. Medspa Mayhem is available everywhere books are sold. Thanks for listening. This has been Medspa Mayhem with Dr. Kate D. We are so grateful you're listening, and we hope you've learned at least one fun or possibly disturbing fact today. Don't forget to hit subscribe on your podcast app and leave us a 5-star review. And read the book. Medspa Mayhem is available everywhere books are sold. Links and more can be found in the show notes and on medspamayhem.com.